You're listening to Heroes in the Moment.
What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
Today, we're doing Andor.
The first 3 episodes.
The first 3 episodes.
The premiere.
We're super hyped. We got the premiere of 3 episodes, which I think was super beneficial. They weren't super long. I think the first one was like right at 40.
Yeah.
And the second one was like 38. And then the third was 40. Mm-hmm.
So I definitely will say, like you said, dude, that was a great idea.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people had no idea even who this character was. Maybe they forgot him, you know,
from
in Rogue
One, right?
Maybe they just hadn't seen that movie. But starting off with the 3 episodes just really like solidifies who he is,
right?
You know, where the show is going.
And of course, you know, it begins with, you know, telling us the timeline. It's 5 BBY, so that means it's 5 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Is that what it means?
Before Battle of Yavin.
I was wondering what BBY meant.
Yeah, and the Battle of Yavin, of course,
Before
is when Luke destroys the Death Star.
Really?
So yeah,
I did not know that's what BBY stood
knowledge.
For. I was like, I know what BBC stands for.
Yes. So it's 5 years before the events of Rogue One,
station.
because of course Rogue One leads right into the events of New Hope. So of course, you know, just get right into episode 1.
Yeah.
We'll start off with the initial reactions. I really am enjoying this show so far. I think it's definitely different. It's darker. It's enticing. It does not feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying it.
Yeah. Dude, listen, man, you know me, you know what I like. Y'all probably know what I like if you listen long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I love this. I do love the fact that it felt very kind of disconnected.
Right.
But this is a gritty, a dark world that we're seeing just, I don't know, deal with these characters. I know the whole 3 episodes, we're seeing just complete desperation, right? From Andor's character. We're seeing his friends being pulled in to help him.
He's a very nervous character.
Yeah.
if you notice, like he's always
and
like,
you know what happens
paranoid.
in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like this season is gonna be beautiful, like blossoming into his development into a leader. Like, bro, that's so cool.
Right. And he starts off very paranoid and then becomes like, he's like, okay, this is what I gotta do.
Also, shout out like the freaking cinematography.
I was
said multiple times before. You know, they didn't use the same green screen.
Right.
At least for the flashbacks,
the visual
they shot
effects
them on location.
were beautiful.
It's gorgeous,
immaculate.
And we said it before, but why can we have had this?
Right before. And I think Mando season 3 is going to deliver that. I think it's going to be more.
They
like
shoot
Andor.
on location in Mandalore.
No, but I agree. Like the visual effects, the CGI, the use of everything that's involved, the location shots. Like, you know, when you're in those past scenes that we see in the episodes, it's so beautiful. Like that mountainous world.
Yeah, in the
you know, this tribe, and seeing more of like a indigenous tribe in
Star Wars is like, when's the last time? Also, you know, we have Ewoks, but
right? We have Ewoks, we have sand people, but they don't talk. They're not humans. But to see like a human perspective of these kind of a people, of a tribal centered, like they have this like polytheistic, I don't know, view of stuff. And I thought that was, you know, super interesting to see in Star Wars, you know, another universe, another
new language.
You know, a new language,
was cool to
thing.
hear, you know.
I really enjoyed that.
Like the little hunting party that they had was all kids.
Right.
Like, it was just like really cool to see different rituals.
It was.
Like you said, it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It felt like an insight into like a completely different separate world.
It felt like it definitely, and that, like, it reminded me, I don't know what the best word to use, like what show this I can compare it to be honest.
I was gonna say a little bit from Prey on Hulu, at least when it comes to some of the culture. Obviously completely different cultures, but some of that just like really grounded feel with a different culture. And then as far as the Andor side,
I think it's really new, and that's one thing I really like about it. Like, it's Star Wars, but it feels different.
Like the one guy getting in trouble trying to escape, and it gets pulled into something. What?
Maybe like,
what is that?
Prison Break? I mean, that's the closest I can think. It's not like Prison Break. But
I can't think of anything right now.
I know. We'll have to come back on that and compare it. But ultimately, like, it started out, the opening was probably my favorite part of episode 1, if I'm being honest. The grittiness, the rain, the darkness, you know, walking into this, I don't know, what was it, like a bar?
It was a bar and like a prostitute place
like
too,
club,
at the same time. Yeah.
So he walks in here and he's searching for his sister, obviously, who we see in the past scenes, who's little,
I never
younger.
thought we would see that type of establishment. I guess like more, well, not like vividly, but you know, like, I don't know, better portrayed in Star Wars.
Gangsters, of course, from Jabba the Hutt, and, you know, stuff that he does, of course, with women. But seeing that in this, you know, other worlds is interesting and stuff, you know, make a world realistic to like underworld level stuff.
I loved it, dude.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I loved it. That shot was so cool. And he's walking down in the rain and you see everything lined up, all the buildings on the side.
Perfect. I was like, immediately, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It's
beautiful.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
I'm into it. And of course, it leads to, you know, he's looking for his sister. He explained that he's from the planet
Canary.
And they're, you know, he shouldn't have mentioned that, but he does. And
Oof.
so that was
keeping a secret his
keeping
entire
secret,
life.
foreshadowing.
He goes to a club. By the way, I'm from this place.
I'm from Kenari.
Like,
She's
what?
from Kenari. I'm looking for a girl from Kenari.
But I think while we can sit back and say it's stupid, I think it just points to the fact of how much he loves his sister, right? Because he's kept that secret his whole life, and like the one time he's telling it to strangers,
and how much he misses
for the
her,
benefit of his sister,
and he hasn't seen her since that one scene where he leaves. And goes on this mission to find the spaceship that crashes. You know, we see that. And of course, she stays with the tribe because she's too young. So that was interesting. Of course, that he's searching for her now.
Yeah.
In the future scenes, and of course, he gets bad rep from the two guards that are standing in the bar or whatever, and they go out and they pursue him.
Yeah.
And he ends up murdering both of them in cold blood.
Well, I guess you could say the first one maybe was just like it was a freak accident. They were attacking him.
He didn't mean to, and it was definitely genuine. Yeah. He was like, "Is he? Get him? Turn him over."
Yeah,
like,
he's faking.
He's faking.
He's capping.
And then he's like, "Don't do it to me. I won't say anything and stuff." And he ends up killing him.
Yeah,
too.
And he murders the second guy.
He does
for
sure murder the second guy. And of course,
I think
at first when I was watching this, I was like, "Okay, he's on a mission." He has purpose, but in reality, he just killed these guys. Like no, he's not.
And I think that moment right there defines his character. Throughout
and
the
where
whole
to
episode.
lead to.
I think it just emphasizes the fact that first and foremost, he's willing to do what it takes for his family.
Right,
just
for
like
sure.
the Fast and Furious movies. I mean, obviously these guys were total jerks. No one cares, but in reality, in this show, at least, they're human beings. So the fact that he was willing to kill one for witnessing that. For the sake of his sister says a lot.
Says a lot
about who he is.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he was right in that, but I'm saying that that's really interesting.
Right, I completely agree. So of course we go on from that, and we learn more about his character. We learn about what he does. Of course, he's panicking at this point because he's like, "Oh goodness, what?
I just killed two.
I just killed
sentry
two guys.
guards." Yeah,
and then he goes off and he talks to Bix, right? And he's like,
Bix,
"I need to talk to this guy, get some money to get out of here."
Yeah,
and he's like, "What did you do?" and all this stuff, and it leads into those interesting conversations. And then it transitions over to, of course, the guard people. I don't know what they're called. I forget. They're like overseers of like these 5 planets or something like that.
These officers.
So they're officers. They're not Imperial. They're not Empire.
Yeah.
They're their own thing.
They're still pretty bad, honestly.
They're not great. And of course, the commander, the leader of this group says, just leave it alone. They died by a freak accident.
Yeah.
And of course.
And he lays out a great reason why. He's like, they were drinking on the job. And they weren't supposed to be here.
The show does.
They were on the clock.
Right. They do really interesting because they do this twice. Did you notice that? Because when Andor talks to his guy, to his friend, he goes, "Where were you last night?" And he's like, "I knocked on your door or whatever." And like, "No, you didn't. You came to my house. We had this stuff."
The one that works like with the people with the junk and
like,
stuff.
You did this, you did that. And the next thing it transitioned over to the bad guys. And then they're like, "This is what happened. This is what occurred." Very, very same thing.
I didn't notice that.
Same thing that happened there. So it's like a very it's showing the corruptness of these planets and the corruptness of what's going on because of maybe the repercussions of the Empire at the time.
Yeah,
which was I thought was really interesting.
I didn't think about that. I did enjoy the older officer's character a lot, even though we didn't get to see because he dipped to a conference or something. Right. But I will say, the younger dude, his name is I think Cyril Cran. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But I don't know. He didn't strike me the right way the first episode at least.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think in a very similar case to Andor, right? He's starting off in a lower position, low in confidence too, right? He's not sure. He's trying to stand out,
right?
He's altered his uniform to look his best, but he just lacks what it takes. And I think we're gonna see by the end, dude, big bad villain, and he's gonna be even more powerful. Maybe there's a second season.
Honestly, I'm getting the vibe. I think he's gonna have a redemption arc.
What?
I'm getting that vibe. I'm thinking right now he's super enticed in capturing Andor. Of course, episode 1, he doesn't know who he is. Doesn't know what's up with the story. He's just interested after killing 2 officers. He doesn't like the fact anybody who kills an officer, they need to be found. They need to be prosecuted. And I'm seeing he's so bad to where you dislike him so much to where I'm seeing a little bit of something that could possibly be redemptive. I don't like him. I don't like, him just, as a character.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing something to where he's such a dislikable person that I feel like they're just going to bring him up to be okay, he's going to end up working with Andor in the end. I'm getting
see that
feeling.
I can see that.
But of course, I don't know for sure. But
maybe becomes the big bad, then he turns around maybe later.
I don't think he can be the big bad. If I'm being honest,
think so?
I don't think he can be because of the fact that I feel like it's going to be the buildup of what Andor does, and of course, Andor does go off, and we know from a fact from the trailers and from the stories of Cassian Andor that he goes off and joins the Empire and becomes an officer in the Imperial army. So I think that ultimately the Empire is obviously the overseeing bad guy at the time, but he's going to be pursuing him, and then eventually he's going to realize, okay, I need to work with him against the bigger enemy of the Empire, which I think is what it's possibly going to lead to, which is a great plot to me. I think that's really
I could definitely
enticing.
see that happening for sure.
So I'd like that. The one thing I'd like to point out though is, did you catch that there in 3 episodes of this show, there is literally no Easter eggs according to Star Wars, except for one mention of the Empire and then one mention of something else that I'll mention in
which obviously the Empire is not even much of an Easter egg. No. I do appreciate that they didn't really throw anything in there,
but I was also missing that.
Really,
I understand they want it to be disconnected and be different, but it felt like Star Wars so much to the extent where I was like, am I really watching Star Wars at all? So like, it doesn't have to be like, did you hear about Obi-Wan Kenobi? It doesn't have to be that. I mean, it could be simple like, the Emperor Palpatine did this, or Emperor Palpatine made a decree, or like the Empire is so overwhelming threat, and the Emperor himself is making it enticing, or they're building this weapon, the secret weapon that they're leading to, or something like that. Something of that nature that keeps the fans enticed, because I can see like casuals not liking the show and losing interest just because of those things.
Well, I will say, I definitely think that's a plus, because I do think that the demographic for the show is not the casuals. I think it's for the main fans. I mean, you're talking about, one of the main characters from a movie like 5 or 6 years ago that I feel like should have gotten a lot more, credit and attention than it deserved. I feel like that I don't know, just being that different actually benefits us. I think a lot of Star Wars fans are just tired of having that shared universe thing where everything is connected, like they do with Marvel. I think honestly, it's a breath of fresh air, at least for those who love, cinema, for those who love great TV shows, and then for those like diehard fans that maybe every episode there is a reference. I don't know.
I can see that
from the other side.
I understand that perspective for sure, but I feel like for the mainstream, because like you need it to be talked about, and without those benefits of an Easter egg, even if it's small, it's not going to be talked about. Like literally, usually when a big show like this comes out, I'm seeing it on TikTok. I kid you not, I've yet to see one in Andor TikTok.
Well, yeah, I'll see. Well, like take Boba Fett, for instance.
No, that was viral on
TikTok. Boba Fett was a terrible show, right?
It was not, but it was big on TikTok.
Yeah, but it was huge. Honestly, Boba Fett might be one of the worst shows I've ever seen. Like, if I'm truly being honest, like I would never rewatch
minus 2 episodes.
And which weren't even his show. His show at this point. But the fact is, they had that character that did appeal to the masses. They had a fan favorite character. Well, even though the show sucked, it was still doing decent due to who they had leading it. This is not the case with this show.
Which this show is great so far. I think it's a really great show so far, and I'm really enjoying it. But at the same time, it needs the benefit of mainstream fans. It needs to be talked about. And I'm starting. They're not talking about it. No one's talking about it.
So it might be discouraging too, because I'm pretty sure that their budget would be a lot more.
It looks like it
for this show. It also looks like it, right? So I hope that's reflected, obviously, in the viewership ratings and the numbers too.
Yeah. So and I hope it starts getting more TikTok, more talked about.
TikTok on talk.
Exactly. More talked about in the future, but I don't know. But also, I'd like to mention that there is opportunities for Easter eggs. Like Star Wars Rebels is taking place at the exact same time Andor's going on, so possibly a reference there, or just other stuff in general would be cool to see anyway. But episode 1, really enticing. Of course, we meet Bix, and they're getting to contact someone.
Dude,
to sell
Bix
stuff.
is great.
I like her,
dude. I don't know if y'all noticed the connection, but if y'all have watched the greatest movie of all time, aka Morbius, aka the movie I just watched because it's the greatest movie of all time,
for sure,
she plays the love interest of Morbius,
and
then she becomes a vampire. Now she's transitioned to the Star Wars world
in a beautiful fashion.
I'm telling you, do not be surprised if Morbius comes out later.
Don't be surprised if we see Morbius in Andor, because it's completely possible. I mean, I think they would go absolutely. It would get huge
That
because
leads
of that.
up a Morbius versus Vader and Palpatine.
Morbius versus
Imagine.
Vader versus Palpatine versus Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Imagine that.
Oh, versus Danny DeVito.
As Wolverine.
As Wolverine.
Whoa.
I mean, is
What
it
a
possible?
show.
Yes. but back to reality. I do think, honestly, Michael, out of these first three, one was my favorite.
Really?
I thought one was the darkest, grittiest, one of the most realistic, I don't know, depictions of a new world that we've seen. And
Yeah.
my favorite part, though, about the first episode was how quickly, but yet how well they introduced the side characters.
Really?
Like you said, that one friend who works like in the junkyard, Bix, her guy friend Tim or whatever, and is Marva in the first episode?
She is.
Marva in the first episode. I thought they did a really good job establishing the side characters.
Shout out Aunt Petunia.
Giving them meaningful stories and making them interesting
Right.
to the point where if he's not on screen,
Right.
I like seeing their stories.
See, I liked episode 3 better, if I'm being honest. Episode 1 was good and it was super enticing and stuff, but it did get slow towards the middle and end.
Yeah,
So I was
I
a
can
little
agree
bit
with that.
unfortunate about that sense. But yeah, I can see that episode 1 was for sure a great starter, and I'm super enticed to where it is going.
Yeah.
And that brings me to episode 2.
Hey, it's
All
up to
right.
episode 1.
So episode 2, I do think this one was not as good as either episode 1 or 3.
I agree.
Honestly, it's a good show and I like where it's going, but episode 2 was so slow to the fact that like I found myself wanting to go to my phone a lot more than I should have watching it. Because I literally found myself like having my phone in my hands, but whoa, I'm on my phone. I'm not watching the show.
Yeah, I'll tell you the key is to
multiple
watch it
times.
on your phone. I was traveling back from Nashville and I had it on my phone, obviously. But yes, I will. It was more slow. I don't think as far as quality goes, it dropped too much off, to be honest with you.
Right.
I thought some of the reactions I've heard have been a little I guess, over exaggerated. I thought episode 2 in the scheme of a trilogy of episodes was still not too bad.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
I get it. In the scheme of things, it wasn't a bad episode. And this show is not like bad, but whatever means. It was just super slow to where I was getting enticed. Like even if I was watching it on my phone, I've done this before, I would pause it and like literally scroll up and go to something else. Like it's just what would have happened. And it wasn't that it was bad. It wasn't bad. It was just like I was losing interest.
Yeah. I did like it in the moment, and I will tell you this right now. Maybe it's because I'm tired, but I kind of forgot what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very forgettable.
What happened?
It was very forgettable. Okay,
2?
so of course he's still panicking and trying to figure out an escape plan or what to do, and wanting to talk to the guy. And then of course they find out the officer. I'm just going to call him the officer people, and they find out what he did.
Yeah,
and they find out it was Andor by the tip from Tim, right? The shop worker
Tim,
who works for
who's dating, or he's with Bix or whatever.
Right, correct. So we get that tip. We get interaction between Tim and Bix.
Yeah.
And then of course we get more past scenes and some of that nature. And the past scenes are super cool. We get to see, of course, him going and finding the ship and the toxic something waste coming out of the ship and the people being sick and the officers are super
like
green,
yellow,
and the girl with the same stripe
the kids
gets killed.
Walk up and they're like, "Yes, we breathe the same air. We're fine.
We breathe the same air." And then of course
like,
they shoot the
what?
girl, and then they get like, "Oh my god, I don't shooting the people."
This is the one part I don't understand, to be honest. Sorry to interrupt. But why would he stay behind when they carry off the girl? Literally,
I guess he's just curiosity.
his whole tribe.
Yeah, I guess it was just complete curiosity of wanting to see what was going on. Because, I mean, we see from Cassian, he's a curious fella. He wants to do his own thing, mainly. So he goes off and he does his own thing. And so he goes into the
Just
ship.
Curiosity wants to know. All right. So keep on going.
Right.
Sorry,
so just, wanting to that curiosity. And, of course, when you are, indigenous and don't have a lot of experience with these things, and being him and a boy, in the century, and there wasn't a lot of boys now that I remember in the people that were going. It was mostly girls, wasn't it? So that curiosity just led him to go in the ship.
I thought it was hilarious how he looks in the mirror and he's like, "What is this?"
Was that episode 3 or was that episode 2? I think it was episode 3.
Was episode 3?
I think it was, or maybe
what is episode 2?
But either way, where he does look in the mirror and he's like, "Who is that?"
Yeah,
because he's probably never seen a reflection.
I thought about that. I was like, dude, I take that for granted. Being able to see
we
myself
do every day.
but
But literally,
that's a little.
He literally, he's like, and he starts punching it. He's like,
I was like, bro, what?
He's like one of the birds who like flies at the window and dies. But yeah, he just punches. He's like, who are you? But yeah, that was cool. Whether it was episode 2 or 3, I don't remember.
That was 3, I think.
But anyway,
I can't
so that's what happens in this in the episode. You know, it's super slow. I mean, the only other thing is we get Tim, you know, ratting out Cassian to the bad guys.
So not necessarily a filler, but it definitely was slower in setting the stage for a more action-packed, you know, episode 3.
Right.
You know, especially with the ratting out was a big part of this episode. Like, truly, that was the biggest part.
And then that kind of benefits its way to episode 3. So let's get to episode 3. Because not a lot happened. Like I said, 2 is forgettable, and it truly was. So first off, like I said, I think episode 3 was amazing. I genuinely think episode 3 was a phenomenal episode. It was my favorite for sure.
It's pretty solid.
It was very actiony. That's why I kind of was more beneficial for it. But, you know, let's talk about, you know, of course, the past scenes. We get the disease. So what do we think this disease possibly is that the ship is carrying?
Monkeypox.
Monkeypox? Possibly.
Well, all right. What do we know about diseases?
Star Wars diseases. Well,
it's yellow and it's in the air.
Right. Clone Wars, I think there was a couple episodes of talked about diseases, if you remember. But like, shoot, I forget which season it was.
It's literally illegal in our warfare.
Yeah,
because you ended it. It's bad.
But remember, it was that blue stuff that touched you. Remember in Clone Wars,
yes,
that blue stuff.
Yes,
they were like going through.
What was it called?
Touched, and Ahsoka and Padme got hit with it, and then they had to, you know, find the cure for it.
I
would
just be holding my breath.
Yeah, for sure. So it's even if they breathe the air though, then they got exposed. So Cassian would have been exposed. So it's not that. So that automatically cuts that out.
Well, if you notice, the people that were dead, they were all wearing like these very protective, not hazmat, but scientist suits. So I think it was in the compartment on the ship and a little leaked out. Or because there's no way they died in their suits. They wouldn't have just been driving, I feel like, the ship in those suits.
So I mean, you know, they were flying through there and then they crash. So like, did it happen like right off like there in the air or something? Or
I would assume something goes awry. I think to be honest, I think they're transporting that disease. Like really, I think they're working for maybe the Empire.
Well, it's not Empire. It's Clone Wars era. So it's during the Clone Wars.
I think regardless, they're working for somebody bad. Like
could be the Separatists.
Maybe they want this. I don't know. Yeah, that's crazy. It is during Clone Wars. They want this. They're transporting it. Some goes out. Someone loses control of the ship. I think that's a lot more likely than someone from within caused the ship to crash. Maybe there was a hero who's like, you know what? Take the ship down. This is bad. But regardless, I feel like they were inside in a container with it. Ended up dying. That's why you still see them in their suits. Right.
Yeah, I think that's very probable. I think that's a probable theory. And of course, then we see apparently they're still on I forget the name of the world again. Kenari. They're still on Kenari, but the next thing you know, of course, Aunt Petunia shows up. What was her name? Minerve. It's not Minerva. That's McGonagall.
I know.
Professor McGonagall.
I'm thinking Harry Potter.
Oh, man. I'm thinking Harry Potter.
It's something Irva.
Irva something. Really Marva? Is it Marva? I think it's Marva.
Is it Marva?
I think it's Marva. But anyway, she shows up with her, I don't know if it's her husband or a friend or they're working together.
It's co-workers.
I don't know.
Co-workers? I don't know his name, to be honest.
I don't forgot his name. Anyway, they find him. And for some reason,
he's just beating the crap out of this ship, dude.
So I'm wondering, are they pirates or are they like something? Do they do something? Because they were like, you know, if the Republic's coming, they said the Republic.
The Republic is coming.
And they're going to kill him. And knowing the Republic, like that's like Jedi and clones. Like they wouldn't kill him.
Okay, so either number one, they're completely wrong and they know nothing about the Republic.
Right.
Number 2, it is a Republic, but they're not coming in
to kill him. They wouldn't kill him.
Yeah. Maybe they would have come and killed those scientists or whoever, you know, the pirates that they were transporting.
But then again, though, like they're not like clones and Jedi aren't straight up murderers at that time. Though.
Yeah.
Like they only kill with reason, and then there was no droids on the ship either.
Plus, it's a kid. So I really think it's possible. I'll see. First of all, how would the Republic be alerted to anything on Kenari?
Right.
They wouldn't. As far as we know, there's very little known about this planet. The fact that they know that this ship is on Kenari is because of the ship. Because the Republic apparently is aware of what's on it. why would the Republic have interest in what's on this? I think to stop it.
It's also interesting too because like Kenari's not outer rim though. They mentioned it's like mid rim or something like that.
It's like mid rim, yeah.
So that was interesting. So it would be, I guess it would be Republic jurisdiction still though, or would it be Separatist jurisdiction? We don't really know that
I'm not sure.
at this point in time. So that's interesting to think about.
And
as
I'm
well.
not sure where their allegiance lies.
I'm not sure.
I don't even know if
so
they have
also
allegiance. But
gets me to wonder, like, can we trust Marva? Can we trust her?
Can we trust her? To be honest, I think so. I mean, at least she raised Andor. You know, she's been with him for 30 years.
Yeah.
Her track record speaks for herself. Is she a great person? Probably not. Is she loyal to him? Yeah. What she was doing there, I don't know. It seems like they're just there to loot, to be honest. Like they're just going there to grab stuff.
Maybe they're working for my boy Hondo.
They might.
Johnny Depp as Hondo shows up.
That would be so cool.
Oh, dope. I'd love it.
That'd be a perfect live action casting. But like, as far as I know, they're pirates, not bad pirates, looking to make a score. You know, find a kid beating the crap out of his ship, decide to drug him,
and then take him away from his only home.
Kidnap him. First of all, brother, you facing life in jail.
Punishment.
Not only are you drugging a kid, this kid's like 10, but you're kidnapping him
as well. Yeah, that's messed up.
Never see his homeworld again. Obviously, yes, you know, they had good intentions, you know. Apparently the Republic is coming.
Yeah.
As far as we know, unless they're capping. But
or he was capping. I don't know. But he wanted to leave him. So
yeah, but she was like, no, she was making a push for the kid. You know, she had a heart for him. So
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see in the coming episodes.
I'm just really interested to see what the Republic was doing.
I agree. So I hope we keep going back and forth like it's been.
I think we will.
I think
actually I'll talk about that part later. Keep on going on.
Yeah. All right. So we go to the future, and the officer people are pursuing Andor. Of course, they get like a 12 men.
Yeah.
Which is a lot, but you know sometimes in those cases you need it, and he's dangerous. They think, and of course he meets with our guy Luthen. In this warehouse
was a baller.
After projecting his escape plan first, you know, after meeting with him because they know that he knows they're coming at this point, which I don't really know. I don't think they explained like how he knew that they were coming, but he does.
I'm not sure. As far as we know, Luthen was attracted to that world because of what he was trying to sell.
Right. And then of course he became attracted to what who he was.
He's like, dude, how'd you steal that from the Empire? I just want.
And that conversation's really what attracted me to this episode. Besides the action, like the conversation between Luthen and Andor was so enticing to me because at this point he's like, okay, forget the box. I'm interested in you, like your story, who you are, and I think I could help you. That was enticing to me.
And it seemed like a minute ago, there's a lot of mistrust going on. There's some, you know. There's some like jealousy. You see a hardened
some blasters
vet.
pulled out. He's like, I know exactly who you are
guy.
and all this stuff. Yeah.
Then he's like, wait. So I question, how did you do that? Like, I'll pay you for it. Like becoming really curious, and you can start to see it form in his mind. He's like, dude, I want this guy. He's good.
This guy.
He's good.
And then he, of course, eventually convinces him. Of course, they're pursuing him, and that definitely benefits.
He has no other option.
No other option, but he does convince him to come with them, and of course they are pursued back, and then of course he takes them with him. But let's talk about Luthen, man. What do we think Luthen's story is? Do we think he's part of the up and coming Rebel Alliance, or do we think he has other intentions? Because I don't know. From the trailers, it seems like he's not bad, but he's not good. So what do you think we're seeing from Luthen?
I definitely think it's possible he's part of the Rebel Alliance. I really do think he's good. I mean, you know, I definitely think he's a man who would do anything, you know, for the cause that he's fighting for. But he's coming from a very, very organized place. I don't think it's for selfish reasons. I think he's looking for a good thief, a good pilot. To be honest, on that specific team, what that reason is, I really do think that it's very likely that he's with obviously the rebellion. To be honest, I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing it as he's the bad guy.
Right.
I
And
mean,
he also reminded me a lot. It was weird. I was like, they're similar. Of the character Woody Harrelson played in Solo, Beckett. I think they were they're like, not the demeanor, but like their actions and like their role is very similar to me. Even though Beckett was not a good guy, and he may not be either that we know of yet. We don't really know him yet. We're still learning about him.
Because like you said, everything we've seen from the trailers paints him as a good guy.
Right.
You know, looking out for Andor.
Right.
But,
so it's really interesting, super enticing, super mysterious. And I really was enticed by that for sure. I enjoyed that part of the episode.
I really did. I enjoyed it. I think my My favorite part of this entire episode. There's continuous flashbacks. And then as we see the two different timelines move, dude, they're in like perfect synchrony
Unison
with each other.
Yeah,
As they're flashing back and forth, you're seeing confusion
I agree.
on both parts. You're seeing a decision on both parts. At the very end, they're literally flying out two at the same time. Like the whole episode, the flashback and the current time
Has
line
corresponded
up
with one another.
perfectly.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I thought that was
writing.
really well. The only thing that I disliked about that part is there was some scenes that were past that I thought was present, and then there was some scenes that was like confused that way, like between the two, that they were getting mixed together. I was like getting confused, especially with like the Marva scenes when they're back, and they've already took him from the planet. When you see her again, you're like, oh, okay, it's now present. But no, it's not. It's the past. But
I was a little confused,
Mhm.
but that's probably on me.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
it's very
I thought the correspondence between the two
Mhm.
timelines was great, and I will say, rest in peace, Tim, with
yes, I
two
was getting ready
M's.
to bring that up.
That's
Tim.
about
Yeah, of
I guess
course.
the other thing that
The one
happened.
thing he did go out in style in the way of trying to protect Bix. He's very protective. He's like, get away from her. And he's like, stop moving. And he's like, going to shoot him. And of course, he moves and he shoots him dead. And of course, it's his own fault, though, ultimately, because he's the one who ratted him.
Move or we shoot you.
Yes. Which I did not like Tim,
Yeah,
but I do appreciate
he was still carrying at least for Bix.
Bix.
But that just clears the way for the romance
Mm.
between Andor and Bix.
But we also know that that has to disappear sometime, too. So I wonder
Yeah.
what happens with Bix, because I don't know.
They've made her out to be a pretty big player.
Right.
in the
Because
series.
I think she'll probably inevitably die just because of the fact that, like, you got to pave the way for Jyn Erso. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I don't know. Did Jyn Erso and Andor ever have a romantic relationship, or were they
I don't
just friends?
recall
I
one.
can't remember. I don't think they had a romantic.
Purely platonic.
It was mostly really good. But Jyn Erso, I love her character. I would have liked to see a story about hers, but that was completely what
Yeah.
Rogue One is about. So, but ultimately, I enjoyed her Bix, and I enjoy her character. So I'd like to see where she's going.
Yeah.
And I think there is going to be a romantic enticing between her and Andor.
Dude,
but-
I hope so. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, every show doesn't have to have that between the character.
Right.
But I to be honest, I really love just the action and the third part of the episode. I will say I was a little confused. Do you know what was going on when all the different civilians are beaten?
Yes,
on their metal
I
stuff?
thought that was super interesting.
What was going on with that?
It shows me that they're protective of one another, and of course, when we see the officers coming and they see what they're doing, and that Cassian is at risk, and then they know him, and he's a worker, he's part of their class, he's not part of the upper class. And you definitely see the class hierarchy relationships
and
there,
obviously,
which is
they
super awesome.
don't like what the blues, as they call
Exactly.
them, right?
Exactly.
You
So
know?
they start banging. It's kind of not only a warning for Andor, but it's kind of a revolt because they don't like what they're
So
doing.
that's just like an awakening.
Because you see Marva talking to the officers in there with her. She's like, you're not going to like what's coming.
she's like, you're not gonna like it when it stops. I was
When it
like,
stops,
what's
yeah.
coming,
I was like,
baby?
ooh, okay.
I know. I was
interesting.
really enticed by that part.
Mhm.
That was cool. I mean, obviously they don't know who Andor, truly is, but
Right.
to see them rally around him in
Mhm.
that way in the face of all these officers,
super dope,
dude,
wasn't it?
was really cool. Like they're running
Yeah.
through, and all the different guys run out to the doors, just being like,
For sure.
they're closing down their
And
shops.
everybody starts getting there, start closing it down, and of course it's building up to what's happening. So that was really cool.
That's like sand people vibes right there, looking out,
Looking out
covering
one
for
another.
each other.
That was cool. And then of course we see Luthen, and he's a smart dude. He has smart plays. Like he's like
Yeah.
he already planned out his exit, which is
It's
super
freaking
cool.
Batman.
He was.
Said, rule number 1, plan your exit.
Plan your exit,
on
and
your
he
way
did.
in. That was
Um,
cool. Rule number 2. What did I say? Rule number 2 was.
I can't remember, but it was dope.
Yeah, it was
Whatever
cool. I was like, dude, I love you.
I love this guy.
Eric Selvig
Um,
making a comeback.
Dude, for sure,
in the
making a comeback after his
Disney
MCU.
universe.
Should have been in Love and Thunder.
I know, bro.
Right, where was he? Well, he was. He
Yeah.
was for like a brief thing. Okay, so then of course they capture the bad dude, the main officer guy, for a minute, and that was super cool. And they had that first interaction
He
there.
seemed like such a wimp.
He did.
Like
"Oh,
he
don't
was
hurt me."
just cowering.
Mhm.
And like this is what we were talking about earlier, but I just feel like they're making him out to be a big player in the show.
Yes.
I really feel like regardless of whether there's redemption or not,
Mhm.
I do feel like he'll become the villain of the show
Mm.
before redemption happens. Like truly,
think so?
I think he'll become
I
that.
don't know.
But
Just
from where he is right now, dude, he's like a shell of a man.
Unless he joins the
trying to lead
Empire,
these people.
he may decide to join the Empire or something after
Yeah.
like getting kicked out by the dude
Like-
after he finds out what happens or something like that.
And I think they've been foreshadowing it too. Remember halfway through the episode when he gives a speech to them?
Mm-hmm.
He walks up
Yeah.
and he's like,
Yeah. Now,
and he gives the worst
he was
pregame
not
speech
good,
of all
and then
time.
they start
Awkwardly, I'm telling you, they're
was super
trying to show
awkward.
you how bad of a leader he is.
Right. What I think is going to happen, this is a theory that I just came up with, and this could be completely wrong. He may stay with the Blues. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the older guy, that the leader, will come back. He'll kick him off. He's like, "You're done. Like you're done with the squad." He'll join the Imperial, the Imperial Army, and go in the officer program. Andor will be right next to him, and they'll be in the officer program together.
Oh, that'd be fire!
I think that'd be kind of an interesting
The Adventures
plot.
of Andor and Cyril.
Mm-hmm.
Empire officers.
That's just a theory. Could not happen at all, but I think that's enticing, and then they can end up like working together for each other's benefit in the Empire.
Then they fight to the death over Bix.
That's possible. It's very possible. But anyway, I think that might be interesting in itself. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And of course, Luthen and them make a good play of sending the bad guy out and then sending like an armored car, and they start shooting at it. And instead, they're in a different one, and they get out of there. But
at least we just didn't have another car chase scene through the.
And that's one thing. Like episode 3 was not slow; it was enticing.
Yeah,
it kept me involved, and that's why I thought it was the best episode. And have Luthen conversation.
Dude, his homie tied the ship to a huge piece of debris. That part was crazy.
That was so cool. Yeah. So
risking it all for the homie.
All of it. So I'm enjoying the show and where it's going so far. Obviously it had a slow start, but most shows in the beginning, because this is apparently going to get 5 seasons. Like it's apparently having a 5-season run. So got to start slow.
We're not seeing him in the Empire this quick.
Got to build it up. So we'll see. But I'm really enjoying it so far, and I have high hopes for the future.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by giving us a review and a download. Our podcast, Here's in the Moment, is available everywhere. So check us out on Spotify and check us out on Apple Podcast.
Heck yeah.
We want to thank y'all for the support. We recently just hit 7K downloads, so thank y'all. We'll push hard to end the year. So we just really appreciate you guys. So I thank you for the love y'all been showing us.
Yes, we do.
If y'all want to keep up to date with all of our new episodes, with our updates, all that jazz, head over to Instagram and check us out at Heroes in the Moment. Also to TikTok at Heroes in the Moment with an extra T. As far as our upcoming announcements and episodes go, we will be releasing Tuesday morning, 5 a.m. We're breaking down She-Hulk episode 6. That episode is funny. It's about 15 minutes of us just roasting the crap out of it, just laughing, having a good time. So check it out. The episode is great. And then Thursday, we'll be dropping our latest superhero news, part 11, coming out. A lot of news this week. We'll break it down all in one simple format for you guys. So stay tuned, and those will all be at 5 a.m.
Yes. And we just want to thank y'all for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.